Good morning, good morning, good morning, y'all. It is Tuesday. It is Coffee Chats with Coach Candy, and I am Coach Candy. So welcome. It is great to have you here. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your water, grab your juice, grab whatever it is that gets you up and going. We are going to have a great discussion. Good morning, Paul. Good morning, Deborah. We're going to have a great discussion this morning, as always, and we're going to get ready to rock and roll. Good morning, Yvette. How's everybody doing? All right. Excellent, excellent. Hey, it's been a while, Paul. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning, y'all. Good morning, Patricia. Good morning. I love when we get all these people jumping on. It is Tuesday. I hope you all are ready for a great day. We are going to continue to talk about some pieces in how to destroy the noise. And today we're going to talk about how to stop shoulding all over yourself. And I always joke, especially when I do this in my talks and presentations. Oh, excellent. I always tell people, I'm like, are you shitting all over yourself? And I said, did your brain just play a trick on you and think I said something different? Whether I said shoulding or shoulding, it's the same thing, because all of those shoulds you are doing, all that shoulding is the same thing. You're burying yourselves in layers deep of that crap. And it's just coming downhill, right? So I want to talk about how to let go of some of those shoulds. We have so many that are wired in us from, programming, hardwiring, things that we've heard growing up and around us. And so think about where those shoulds, where those powerful I should, I shouldn't, all of those kind of qualifiers, and where they stem from. And a lot of times they're in comparison to other people. And so we sit there and we're like, well, I should be, I should look more like that. I should be thinner. I should be prettier. I should be this. I should be whatever it is. And sometimes it's things that aren't even, for us in any capacity. But what we do is we set some arbitrary bar out there. We set some standard that usually says, I should do this. I shouldn't do that. And it's interesting because just recently I actually had one of my clients, we were having a conversation in our mastermind around human design, which is a whole way of taking like the science and astrology and almost pairing it with something like Myers-Briggs. It really has a way of talking about some of your hardwiring and what's your innate way that you show up in the world. And then we were doing some other kind of assessments to gauge, what our natural energy states are, what is our natural tendencies, and, even from a leadership perspective, and there's assessments out there that talk about what kind of leader are you, right? And so I was doing another assessment that, had laid things out that, my top two advantages are power and passion. And for some people they're reversed, and there's like 9 different ones you can have, and the combination obviously can be multiple, right? And how you lead and how you influence really depends on some of your own hardwiring. But oftentimes we'll look, especially in business and in the corporate arena, we look at how someone leads, or we look at how someone shows up, and we say, well, I should be more like that. When in all reality, sometimes that shoulding that we've placed on ourselves is something that's not even innate to us. It's not our wheelhouse. It's not our strength. It's not a space where we're actually going to succeed or excel, because it's not something that is our own DNA and our own hardwiring. And so many times we put this unnecessary pressure. We put this inadvertent, anchoring space of I shouldn't. And we put this unbelievable pressure on ourselves to show up in a way that's not natural to our own gifts and our own innate talents and our own hard wiring, that we don't understand why we're so depleted sometimes, why we're frustrated sometimes. And it comes down to taking time to really understand, what are your natural energy states? What are the things that are your gifts, your talents, your way of showing up in the world? And how do you leverage and give more juice to that versus playing the comparison game? And anytime we put ourselves in that comparison game, it's a slow suicide, right? It's that space of constantly setting an arbitrary metric that's oftentimes not reachable, or if it is, we're sacrificing our own ability to stand in something more powerful and something that's more aligned with who we are. And so I'm curious, for those of you that are on this morning, where are some ways that you've seen the shoulding shut you down? And when you start to think about this and start to open up access for more, to think about this differently, where are you like, wow, I never thought about it that way. It was me comparing myself to something that's not really who I am. It's not something that fires me up. It's me looking at whatever the standard is, or looking at something else that's out there and thinking, I have to be just like that. I see that a lot, and you see it a lot in corporate, you see it a lot in business, but you also see it a lot with entrepreneurs, right? They go out there and they have to go out and they go after every shiny thing that someone else has done, instead of finding the things that deeply resonate with them, to say, wow, that seems meaningful. That seems aligned with who I am, how I'm choosing to show up. And it's an opportunity for me to learn from that. I'm feeling called to that. And, oftentimes we do work around your standards of integrity and your core values, and those things that you admire or see in other people often are because those are the things that you're already wired with. And when we focus on those things, when we focus on how to grow ourselves in that capacity, we give ourselves permission to stop getting buried, stop getting the landslide of the shoulding that's falling downhill, that's like, shutting us down. It's holding us back. And we start to show up a little bit more purposely and mindfully and intentionally. And it's only in that space where we get really clear about what shoulds are holding us back. So I'm curious, as we're having this conversation this morning, where have you found or where are you feeling like there's the shoulding that's weighing you down, or the shoulding that's getting in your way? What are some of the shoulds or the shouldn'ts, should nots, that you're telling yourself or have told yourself in the past that when you got past that, you realized that was something else? Good morning, Mario. So I'm curious where that shows up for you. Because we do that, and a lot of times we don't even realize we're doing it. We're like, oh, I should be more this. Oh, I had that a lot growing up, where people would say things like, Candy, you should be more. My grandmother and I'll give you an example of this. When I was younger, and this was one where my mother thought I was sassy, my grandmother, and for me it just didn't make sense. But my grandmother would say, young ladies shouldn't sit like that. Young ladies shouldn't climb trees. Young ladies don't, and all these things that she imposed. And I remember saying, and I wasn't trying to be a smart ass, I didn't understand. And I said, I don't understand. I never asked to be a young lady. Which then my mother said, stop sassing your grandmother. And in my mind, I wasn't sassing my grandmother. In my mind, I was confused because there was this metric that I kept getting measured against. That wasn't a metric I put out for myself. That wasn't a goal for me. It's not like I ever woke up when I was a kid and was like, wow, I really want to be a young lady someday. That's not what I was aspiring to do. And so it was interesting that someone kept creating this shoulding space and this metric space for me around something that wasn't even speaking to me. It wasn't even my truth, right? And I think about where that's shown up. I've had people say, you should be quieter. You should know how to, tone down. I've had people say that a lot. Candy, you should tone down. In fact, I have a former friend of mine, I will say former, we actually separated ways as a result of this conversation. And I had gotten out of a 3-year relationship, and I was heartbroken. Yes, 3 years of my life, right? Thought this was someone I was going to marry. And I remember her saying to me, Candy, maybe you should tone it down a little bit. And I remember looking at her and said, I don't understand what that means. And she said, I'm just saying that if you ever really want to be serious with someone, if you want to settle down, that maybe you should tone it down. And I said, tone down what? Tone down the core essence of who I am. I said, there's people that seek me out because I'm not toned down. There's people that my whole life have been attracted to me because of my voice and my energy and the fact that I live life large. Why would I want to shut that down when there's people that I'm affecting and influencing and impacting? And when we said things, I remember when we were having the conversation that I said, I hate if this is going to be the outcome. And if you think I should dial it down, because that was what she said, dial it down. You should dial it down. I said, if you really believe I should dial it down, then maybe it's your choice to not be around me. And so she basically walked away. And I remember us having a follow-up conversation. It was a friend of mine from high school. And she said, do you want to talk about why we're not friends anymore? I said, I'm really clear why we're not friends anymore. You chose not to see me as me, and you kept wanting to put me in a box that wasn't where I wanted to play. And for the longest time, we kind of had a dance of, if you ever saw the movie Beaches, I was kind of in her shadow for a really long time, and then started to step out my voice. And the more I stepped out, the more she was like, maybe you should dial it down. And I was like, no, I've been in a box too long in my life, and I'm not going to dial anything down. And I remember another friend of mine saying, I can't believe she said that. I'm like, it's all fine. It's people are here for a season, reason, and a lifetime, right? And so when you think about that, you know who you are. That shoulding for me was not anything that I was going to internalize, because dialing down has not ever been something that I aspire to do. If anything, I have always, my entire life, been aspiring on how can I play a bigger game, not a smaller game. Right? And so I've been asked and called to do a certain level of work, and me dialing it down. And I get that that's not for everybody. I get that for some people, they're like, Candy, your energy, and I get told this a lot, you love too big, your energy's too big, and I'm a big proponent of those two statements that people share with you oftentimes are your biggest strength. And the thing is you're just using them in the wrong environment. You need to find your tribe. You need to find your people that resonate with that, because I don't think any of us are put here to dial down anything. I don't think we're here to be put in a box. And the more you should on yourself, and the more you are, shoulding all over yourself constantly, the more you keep putting yourself in those confined boxes. So, Yvette laughing, that's funny. Deb, for me, it was that I should be married. Oh, yeah, women, we get that all the time. It took me a bit after my divorce to realize I didn't need to be married. I shouldn't put my life on hold to find that perfect guy. If you just live life, the right things come. Isn't that so true? It's amazing to me. I've had people tell me ever since 30-something years old. I mean, I just turned 46 on last Friday. And I get people like, don't you think you should think about getting married and having kids? And I just look at that and I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, you really should think about settling down. And I'm like, why would I want to settle down in my life? It's not to say that at some point I don't want to be married. If it's the right space, it's the right space. But the idea of settling down or being grounded or dialing it down has never appealed to me. I'm not looking for someone to ground me. I'm not looking for someone to settle down with. I'm looking for someone who wants to partner with me and fly like crazy and take off like rockets, right? I'm looking for somebody that wants to impact and change the world. And when and if that shows up in my life, then I welcome that with open arms. But I'm not about to settle down anything so that I can live by a predisposed standard that's been put out there. And I remember when one of my friends used to say that to me, and my response finally was, why? So I can be as miserable as you in your marriage? Because she wasn't happy in her marriage and she just kept wanting to. And I think my next response was, well, perhaps if you took half the energy that you have in the I should settle down space and worrying about my life, which by the way is fabulous, and put it into why your marriage isn't working, maybe you wouldn't be so unhappy. And the thing is, people don't want to deal with their own house, right? So they project out and they should all over you. And oftentimes we just let it downpour all over us. And like I said, we get buried in that stuff when we're like, I should. No, the only should you should do is listen to your intuition, listen to your heart, and live your life on your terms. That's it. That is the only shoulding that should be happening, is the I should listen to myself. I should live and show up on my terms, and I should be aligned with whoever I am. End of story, no matter what that looks like. And if other people don't understand it, that's their opportunity to figure out why they're so challenged with that space. That's their issue. It's not yours. And it's amazing to me how many people think we should fit into a, women should do this, men should do this. This is what a normal, everybody should aspire to want to settle down, have the house and the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the 2-car garage. And really? That sounds like a boring space for me to live in. And that's just me. Some people that is their dream, and they're happy and they're joyful in that space. If that's not for you, so be it. I am a mom. I have a puppy. I know there's people that challenge and want to argue with me all the time that I'm not a real mom. Whatever. In my heart, I am a mother. In my heart, I have a child. In my heart, I'm showing up in the way that I need to. I know that there's opportunities that I get to mother in other capacities. And I don't have some biological clock that was ever ticking that said I had to do this or I should be doing that. I've lived according to my compass, my GPS. And so when we understand that, the only shoulding that's there for you is the shoulding that says, what's in your heart? What does your inner voice tell you? And are you aligned with whatever your higher power says your calling is to be, what your Dharma is, right? And when you think about it, it's amazing to me that, human beings get so stuck in this space of needing to be like everybody else that, oh my God, God forbid we stand out. When an acorn never tries to be anything other than an oak tree. It's not trying to be a rose bush. It's not trying to be an elm tree. An acorn is trying to be an oak tree. And so when you understand that we all have a Dharma, whether we like to believe it or not, we have a purpose, a path that we are meant to be on, that the only shoulding you need to do is, am I on the path that's mine? Everything else is noise, and it's an opportunity to stop letting other people should on you. And yes, for those of you that your brain is doing should, it's the same thing. Or if you're shoulding all over yourself based on programming and beliefs and things that have been handed down to you, think about how they're, and my response to most people when they should on me is, how's that working for you? Because really not thinking you get to shit on me when your life is not fulfilled and you're not happy and you're not walking your path. So Deb, I got to be a young lady thing a lot. Oh, that one drives me crazy. And it also drove me crazy that when I decided I didn't want to show up as a young lady. And I did. I played sports. I loved climbing trees. My God, I got dirty, loved dirt when I was a kid. Wanted to play hard. Then people were like, well, you're a tomboy. And I used to get really adamant. I'm like, I'm still a girl. And they're like, you're a tomboy. And I'm like, why do I have to be called something different? Because I didn't want pink and lace and want to be a young lady and didn't play that way. The fact that we feel the need to label, and labels are another version of shoulding. So I want you to realize that when the labels show up, when we start saying, well, young ladies should look like this, and we start putting labels, even when we say, you're the smart one, you're the this, we start inadvertently creating a space that says all this shoulding, all this programming, all this stuff is the lane that you have to play in. Because I remember even in high school, I fought with my guidance counselor. I had to actually go to my superintendent, Toke. Tokarski was awesome. You bet you know who I'm talking about. Love Tokarski, but I actually had to go to Tokarski, our superintendent, to circumvent my counselor, because when I was taking honors classes, I took every honors class there ever was. I was a geeky nerd. I've always been that way. I'm a voracious learner. I love that, right? And I wanted to take shop class. And he kept fighting me and telling me, oh, you need to take economics. You should take economics. You're taking honors classes. I'm like, I don't want to take economics. Could care less about economics. First of all, most boring ass class on the planet besides statistics, which I've taken graduate level statistics as an engineer and in my master's programs and as a Six Sigma black belt. Let me tell you, economics and statistics and accounting for me is like poking my eyes out with a needle, right? And so he kept fighting me and kept fighting me, and he kept saying, you should. And I'm like, I want to take shop class. I want to use my hands. I want to work with, because I love to build things. I have built massive, I have a kitchen island that I built with my own hands, laid the 100-pound marble slab on it, built the whole, it's one of my prize things I built. I love to tinker with stuff. And I had to go to my superintendent to actually get approval because my guidance counselor insisted that I should, and as a girl, and it's the whole thing that opened up a path for me to become an engineer. I thought I was going to get into woods and metals. I ended up getting into electricity and architectural design, and it's sort of a raffle the way you get into your shop classes, which then led me into an open array of wanting to do architectural engineering, which moved me into mechanical engineering, which had I not made that choice at that point, my life would be very different. And I knew in my heart where I wanted to play, and I wanted something different from my honors classes. I wanted something that used the other side of my brain. I'm really balanced in left and right brain thinking, and I wanted something that allowed me to be creative, allowed me, in fact, even in junior high when we had home ec or we had shop class, God, I loved shop class, couldn't stand home ec class, loved woodworking, and when we got to do the leather coasters and we got to use the tools and love that stuff. But I had a counselor that kept saying, you should. And I knew even then that that wasn't the right space for me. And so I used my voice to say, that's not where I want to play. And I will do whatever I have to fight so that I can be in the space that's most meaningful for me. And it's amazing to me that we get so afraid to speak up in that space where we're labeled, right? And those labels are the most powerful shoulding we do, because it's that inadvertent space where we're just like, you should look like this. It's this box. Candy, you're an honors student. You should. So what? I'm an honor student. Who cares? And I want to play. I want to be creative. I want to get into a space where I can feel things and touch things and think differently. And that label has nothing to do with this passion and this desire over here. And so I want you to think about where you're inadvertently labeling yourself or allowing others to label you, because the shoulding is underneath that label, and it's creating a powerful upper limit. And for those of you that have been part of the Yes Monthly program, you know we've been digging into upper limits and limiting beliefs and that programming. For those of you that aren't, you still can join us, because we are getting into deep work around how to release upper limits and limiting beliefs and the programming that's holding you back. And so let's see, Yvette, in my business, in my mind, I think I should be at the same success level as one of our leaders, even though she's been doing it for 12 years and me only several months. Yeah, there's something about that as well. We tend to compare ourselves to somebody who's been on the path for like 10x more than we have. Or this is the problem with social media. Social media serves some amazing things. For example, I'm here with all of you right now. Love social media when it's used in a way that serves. Social media also is part of the reason why our suicide rates are going up. Social media is part of the reason why people are more depressed than they've ever been, why they are medicating more, why we are unhappy and unfulfilled, is because people are going out there and comparing themselves to these feeds that they see. That oftentimes all you're doing is looking at the A track. So many times you don't know what's going on the surface. And I used to say, you know, I was living in Milwaukee and it was amazing to me. You'd go down this row of houses that were these multi-million-dollar homes. If you got close though to the house, you'd see that there was nothing inside. It was for appearances. People would buy these houses that were way out of their financial range simply to keep up with the Joneses, right? And what you didn't realize is they were suffering inside. And that's the same thing you see from a lot of people. There's also people that we admire sometimes as leaders, that when we understand what they're sacrificing, we look at, you know, the state of their relationships and affairs, because sometimes we're like, oh, I should be crushing it like that 80 hours a week. I need to be playing at that level. What we don't realize is, do I want it to cost me the same things it's costing that person? And your path is your own. It's like when you compare yourself to anybody, this is why it's a slow suicide, that if you compare yourself to anybody, there's a difference between jealousy and envy and admiration. There are people that speak to us that emulate how we want to grow. Those are people to watch and follow and say, I want to be more like that. Not I want to be them. I'll get people that even say, I'm about to launch a new certification program to train coaches, facilitators, and trainers and certify them. So by the way, if any of you are interested, reach out, because this is a very small, intimate group that I'm launching in September to certify facilitator, coach, trainers. It's bringing those 3 skills together. And I will get people that are like, I should do this, right? I should look like that. No, you emulate how you want to grow and what you want to grow into, and then you build it. And I have people a lot of times, even when I was building this program, they're like, Candy, teach me to be you. And my response always is no. And they're like, ouch. And I'm like, no, hear what I'm going to say. I will give you every tool, every strategy. I will give you all of the learning, which is what I'm building this program on. I will give you all of the learning, all of the knowledge, all of the things I've built, everything I've extracted. I've worked with some of the best teachers in the industry. I will bring all that, give that to you, and I'm going to teach you to be you in that space. Because here's the thing, you are setting yourself up for failure if you're trying to mimic me, if you try to copy me, if you try to have the same kind of energy and contact and way that I engage with people. You will never succeed at your highest level if you're trying to be me, when your biggest opportunity is to take all those tools and become you. And so it's one of the things that I've put together a program to help people see that they can have everything I have, all the tools, all the systems, all the processes, all the knowledge, all the learnings, all the extraction, all of it, and learn how to swim in their lane in that space. And so when you use those people that you admire as metrics for how you choose to grow and how you want to enhance your own skill set, that's awesome. When you're looking at those people and you're like, I should be that, be really mindful of what you see oftentimes on the surface is not what's really going on underneath. And the more you think you need to be that person, the more you're losing the space of who you ultimately are. The more authenticity starts to slip away because you start to mimic and start to replicate someone else. We are all on our own path. And when you compare yourself to anyone, it's like comparing an apple to an orangutan. They're not in the same space. And I love a quote that used to say, a fish will always be, and I forget how it goes, I'm going to paraphrase, that a fish can always be an amazing fish, but the minute you try to teach it to fly, the fish is never going to succeed. So we don't try to teach a fish to fly. Why do we try to teach ourselves to do things that are not inherently our skill set, our gifts, and the way that we're wired? And so I really want you to think about where and how some of those limiting beliefs, that comparison is a limiting belief. You believe you have to look like someone else or you should be on the same path as them when you trust that you are on the path that you were meant to be on and honor the growth that you've had, you start to accelerate even faster. And so dial it down, no, right? Yeah, exactly. We should be who we need and want to be. Absolutely. Amen to that. You got it. Terry, good morning. So much freedom in not shooting on yourself. Yeah, right? One day I found myself shitting on someone else when they asked for guidance. Ooh, that was a aha moment for me. Yeah, I had to work on that as a coach. And again, it's one of those skills I'm going to be teaching, or mindfulness. A lot of the skills I teach are wrapped around how we're more mindful as facilitators, coaches, and trainers. But it is one of those spaces. We need to be careful that we're not shooting on someone and imposing what we think they need to be doing or what we think they should be doing. What our role is to open up more options for them to make a decision that is most aligned with where they're at and how they want to step forward. And I have got people that will say, Candy, tell me what I should do. And my response is always like, no, that is not my role. I'm going to help you vet through options and you're going to tell me what you think you should do. And then I'm going to hold you accountable in that space. And there's a big differentiator in coaching and in training and in working with people in holding that space of accountability and having that other person own what they think they should or should not do and what's going to be a priority for them. I will not, and there's times, and like Terry said, there's times you're like, ooh, okay, let's not bring that back. But my role is not to tell people what they should do. My role is to help people vet out as many options as possible and hold them accountable in the space that feels most aligned for them so that they can move forward. It's to challenge them. It's to push them. It's to give them a space to excel. It is not to impose any shoulding on them. And so I want you to think about that. Yes, statistics, great. All kids did drafting and wood shop in middle school for us. Loved. Yes, and we did too. We had shop in junior high, but in high school, whole different story. And, there was this whole only, the Kirby's and the kids that are kind of the dropouts take shop class. I was definitely an anomaly. I loved shop class. Are you kidding? One of my favorite classes. And you still have a leather coaster, so do I. It's in one of my memory boxes. I love it. I love that coaster. It still smells like leather. Yes, Yvette and I are going to reminisce for a minute. We went to high school together, so, hilarious. My dad was a carpenter, so I learned all that at home. I built my chicken coop. I love that, right? See, and there's so many women and girls that love that space. They want to use their hand. I remember doing an after-school program when I was in high school where they taught us how to roof, and they taught us how to do, change a tire and all this stuff. That was it was so fascinating to me. And the fact is that we think, well, girls should do this and boys. And what's disheartening is there's still too much of that separation right now. We think we've evolved, and in a lot of cases we've regressed, and we've not allowed people to just dial into what lights them up. Same thing with boys that want to cook and do home ec and whatever. Who cares? Or play with dolls or whatever. Why are we so rigid about how we're supposed to show up in this world? It's frustrating, and we need to let that go, right? Yes, I love tinkering too. It's one of my favorite things. Good morning, Christine. Terry, thanks for sharing this. That's a huge pile of should to release. Good for you. I love that. A pile of shoulding. I love it. Release the pile of shitting you've been buried under, right? And I know that's like a visual that for some of you, you're like, I'm serious. I'm going to give you the visual because it's the only way you start to release the shitting and stop letting it be dumped downhill. Stop shitting all over yourself. Stop letting others should all over you. Comparison is the enemy of good. Absolutely. Comparison is the thief of joy. Anytime you're in that space to be comparing yourself, you're on that slow suicide of being miserable because you are stealing and robbing yourself of your own peace and joy. Comparison, it's like comparing an apple to an orangutan. We don't know the full story. You're looking at one side of the track. You're not looking at everything else that's underneath that. And oftentimes it's not your path. You have a Dharma. You have a path for how you're supposed to lead your life. And again, the only shooting that you need to be doing is the shooting that says, this is how I should live my life based on my Dharma, based on what's in my heart, based on what feeds my soul. And who cares what anybody else thinks? Period. And so I want you to really kind of like own that, of happy, of joy, of meaning. Yes, comparison to others is just the enemy. Absolutely. Terry, yes, I'm in the same place and I can see the bigness of my vision and I want it now, except I have to build it as I go. Absolutely. Einstein, we are all geniuses. Yes, that's the quote. But if you ask a fish to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. Yes, why do we put ourselves in these boxes and give ourselves these labels that are inadvertently creating this pile of should that we let just, bury us and push us under? And so, hello. My mom was a handyman in the house, not my dad. Yeah, my mom, I mean, seriously, I learned sports from my dad was never around. I mean, he was useless. Let's just put that out there. My mom taught me sports. I learned baseball and football from my mother. I learned hockey from one of my friend's dads. I learned to fish from someone else. I learned a lot of, my mom has done so much of the work in her home. I helped her redo her floors, sanding. We do a lot of projects together. But same thing. I mean, that space of tapping into your innate skills, that space of tapping into what allows you to feel free, feels fulfilled, feels peace, joy. Because our only should in this lifetime is that we're supposed to live as fulfilling lives as possible. We're supposed to step forward and give of our best selves and serve at the highest and best capacity. And the only way you can do that is when you honor yourself and stop listening to everybody else's shoulding, which most of that shoulding, those labels come from upper limits, limiting beliefs, and it comes from a legacy of fear we keep handing down as generational legacies as these gifts. And yes, release the pile of shit. I love that. I love that. And so I want you to think about how can you stop letting the shoulding bury you and stop shitting all over yourself. Let it go. Anytime you feel a label coming on, anytime you feel the shitting coming on, ask yourself, is this aligned with who I am? Is this me being in my most authentic space? Is this me playing at my highest and best level? Is this me living in my Dharma? If the answer is not a resounding yes, then let it go. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter who tells you. People will be like, oh, but my mother, great, and they're not living your life. You're grown adults. We are no longer children that have to be told what to do in aspects of our life. Every choice you make, every decision you make is yours and yours alone. And anytime you hand that out, you are not standing in a place of responsibility. Anytime you are allowing someone else to make those decisions for you, you are playing victim, you are playing small, and you are not taking responsibility to step up as the leader that you are. And I want to leave you with that and have you think about that. Deb, my mom was fierce. After my parents divorced, we did a ton of projects on our house. Nothing was above doing. I love that. Oh, thanks, Yvette. I love you. Yeah, I've been fired up this week. I don't know what's, well, I get fired up all the time. But for those of you that were on the call last night, those of you yesterday, yeah, I've been a little energized. I think Mercury is finally moving out, clearing some stuff for me or something. I don't know. But these are some hot buttons, right? I'm watching what's going on. I'm watching people's quote conversations. And I remember someone yesterday challenged me to say, really, conversations on social media? Yes, more like bitching, complaining, and dumping ground. But I'm watching some of the interaction and the dialogue and the things that are happening, and there's so much fear and there's so much shitting and there's so much of this polarizing labeling that's going on that we right here, this group, this community, this tribe that's been built has an opportunity to change that simply by how we choose to show up and model something different. You cannot control what other people believe, expect, think, say, or do. You can show up in a space powerfully and mindfully to really take responsibility for how you choose to show up in those spaces. And with that is where great influence and impact comes from. If you want to change things, it's not about changing other people. It's not about pushing your agenda on them. It's not about shooting all over them. It's about you standing in a place to choose how you want to show up, choose how you want to serve, and choose to take personal responsibility inside that space for for what you believe, what you expect, how you think, how you speak, and how you act as a result. You are the only person that you are responsible for, and it's a big responsibility. So my challenge is stop copping out, because the shoulding, when you allow yourself to be buried in the pile of the should, you are inadvertently not stepping forward and taking the level of responsibility required to live your best life. And so that is what my wish for all of you is, that you allow yourself more tools, more resources to destroy the noise, more ways to truly and effectively say yes to yourself. And just amazing. And so what other people think of you is none of your business. Yes. I'm going to channel my inner spirit animal, Miss Betty White, when she says someone's opinion of you is none of your damn business, unless you are seeking their opinion for your own learning and growth. Yes, unless they are someone who's emulating skills and qualities of what you want to grow into. And even then, you still can take their advice and feedback with a grain of salt. You still get to filter. You still get to decide. Yvette, I completely agree with you. I love this group and energy as well. And like I said, I've said this many times, if some of you haven't already connected with each other outside of this group, I encourage you to get to know each other, to continue to build deeper relationships, to engage and have these conversations, because you're already playing in a space with people who want to create effective change, who are trying to influence, who want to be better and feel more fulfilled and access more and show up from their best and highest levels. You already have a tribe that's around you, and it's such an opportunity to lean in with people that share your heart space, people that share that soul space with you. So please don't miss the opportunities to connect with each other. There's so much we do in the morning, but this is your opportunity, right? This is your opportunity. You have a family, a tribe, and I know some of you have said when we've talked about, your inner circle and other things, I don't have these people. Yes, you do. They're right here. They show up with you every morning on these discussions. So don't miss that opportunity to connect with each other. I love for some of you that have, I love watching you share things and like things and comment on each other's posts. It makes my heart overflow, and just so gives me so much joy when I see you connecting, because I love being that bridge to connect people together. All right, last comments here. Terry, every action you take and every decision you make gets one step closer to or further from your goal. Choose wisely, yes. And as I was reading that, I was like, every breath you take. Sorry, the song just like kicked into my head. I'm really feeling punchy today. Would love to connect more with anyone in this group. Love that. Please, please, please. Yes, there are some powerhouses on here. Christine Powers is a powerhouse. Yvette McGraw, powerhouse. Terry Rundell, powerhouse. Deborah Stowers, powerhouse. Those of you, Mario, who's been jumping on. These are powerhouses on here. Who else has been commenting? I don't know who else is on here. That's who's commenting today. Powerhouses, powerhouses. Connect. Connect. There are so many opportunities when you connect with other thought leaders, other heart-centric, soul-centric, heart transformational leaders, and that's who's in this group. That's who is drawn to me. That is who, when I choose not to dial it down, that's who comes into my inner circle. And so there is no dialing anything down. I want you to think about that. No dialing anything down. No shooting all over yourself, and step forward in your Dharma and learn to be the fish that knows how to swim like there's no tomorrow, and stop trying to climb the tree when you were meant to be a fish. All right? I love you all. You guys are fantastic. You make my morning. I will be back tomorrow, Wednesday, 7:30 Central Time. Let me know. Again, if you haven't checked out the Yes Monthly program and you want to dig into this more, go out, check it out. You can join us. There's so much richness in what we do there and how we're connecting. Also, if when I spoke about the certification program to be a facilitator, coach, trainer, if that's a space that speaks to you, you are the people that I'm seeking. That program is limited to 12 people. It is the first launch, you will be getting really real time. I'm coming from working with one of my master trainers, accelerated learning techniques, how to show up mindfully and purposely, how to create contact in the container in the room, how to build out bigger spaces where you can coach more and create that one-to-many model. If that's something that interests you, reach out. Let's have a conversation and see if it's the right fit. We're 2 months out, so there's some pre-work, there's some things that I'm having people dig into so that they can come in September and be really ready to hit the ground running. And this is an intensive 3-month program with a 3.5-day launch in Austin. That's a workshop, that's a deep dive. So again, if that speaks to you, reach out to me. Yes, monthly program is out there for those of you that want to go deeper. And for the rest of you who are just like, I just like showing up on these calls, I will be back tomorrow, 7:30, with you with a whole nother topic to dig into. Who knows whatever wild hair like speaks to me. We will jump in, we will dig in, we will have some fun, and just know that I honor all of you for being here. Namaste, everyone. Have a beautiful and amazing Tuesday, and I will catch up with you tomorrow.